So this is it. We've made it to the month of December. It's the last month of the decade. That means today I'm going to stop and rank all 16 new releases from November that I saw. I saw a lot of movies this month, from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of the November new releases that you were able to see this month. We're going to see different movies. We're going to have different rankings. That's the fun part, to talk about movies. If there's some movie that you saw that I didn't include in my list, it's not because I forgot it, it's because I didn't see it. I tried to see as many as I could. I'm never able to see all the movies that did come out. One final thing before we get started. If you enjoy a lot of these shirts that I wear inside of my videos, you can pick them up at my merch store. The link is down below in the description. All throughout the month of December, they're running these massive sales, 35% off everything, $13 t-shirts. If you're looking for some new nerdy movie stuff type t-shirts, check out that link down below. With that said, let's get started. Coming in last place is Noelle. This is a Disney Plus original film starring Anna Kendrick and Bill Hader. It's kind of one of these Christmas movies about Santa's kids and trying to continue on the legacy. And it just didn't work for me. It was trying to be a few too many different things, and that's where I think it just kind of fell apart. When it was kind of like at the North Pole and there's squabbling about who's going to take over their dad's legacy, I just didn't think it worked at all. It wasn't funny. It wasn't cute. It wasn't any of the things that it was supposed to be. And then Bill Hader kind of disappears for a big chunk of the movie and shows back up at the end, and Anna Kendrick's character is learning about the value of Christmas, and it's about family, and it's about all these different things. None of it really worked. Actually, one thing inside of it worked. For 15% of the movie, it's basically Elf, except with Anna Kendrick in the city as this person that's from the North Pole that doesn't understand modern day society, that just loves Christmas. And when Anna Kendrick is doing Elf, I really enjoyed that. That's what the movie should have been. Anna Kendrick doing Elf. Totally would have loved that movie, but it's the other 85% of it I did not enjoy. I didn't think it worked. I didn't think it came together. I've seen a lot of other people thought it was cute and charming. I was not one of those people. Coming in at number 15 is Charlie's Angels. This is another movie I just found to be very bland, poorly constructed, and didn't have anything about it that kind of popped for me. So a lot of people on the internet did have some fun with it. They went in with low expectations and it kind of exceeded them just a little bit. That wasn't my experience. I thought the action was very poorly handled. There wasn't really logic inside of it. There wasn't anything about the choreography, the way that it was staged. It was like, that was a cool action sequence. And so you just kind of got a bland spy movie with girls in it, with some very ill-conceived tonal issues that were like, our angels kill a guy and they just make a joke out of it. So I couldn't root for them. Made for a movie that wasn't so great for me. Next up is going to be Last Christmas. I was actually pretty excited to see this one because I always found Paul Feig's movies to be a little bit interesting. And had Henry Golding in it and Emilia Clarke. So I thought it could be a nice little rom-com date night with my wife. And the problem is the movie itself isn't really that. It's sold as a rom-com, and it has a lot of very rom-com elements about it. But once you see the movie and how it fully plays out and everything, what they do with everything, you're like, okay, that wasn't really a rom-com. I'm not really sure what it was. There's some very odd scenes inside of it, just tonally feel like directed and written by someone else and just kind of sprinkled throughout it. And so while I liked our two leads, I'd love to see Paul Feig do an actual like rom-com with these two people. The movie that they made seemed like it was trying to be way too many things at the same time. And, you know, someone trying to mix different styles of cooking all together into one and then give it to you and you're like, okay, I like this, this, and this. I just don't like them all mixed together. That's what this movie felt like to me. Too many things mixed that don't taste right, mixed all up like that. Number 13 is Playing with Fire. This is a harmless enough piece of family entertainment. Is it good? Not really. Did I hate it? No. Did my kids have fun with it? Yeah. Did I have fun watching it with my kids in the theater? Yeah, of course I did. So, I mean, very predictable literally, as soon as they introduced certain characters, I was like, I bet this is where this is going. Okay, they introduce next character. Okay, the way this is going to play out is that this is going to happen. All of it. You can write this script yourself after you've seen the first 20 minutes. You know everything that's going to happen after that point in time in the movie. But, you know, it's not good. It's not dangerous. It's just harmless, stupid kid stuff that's mildly amusing. Of the things my kids could choose to watch over and over again, this one isn't the one that would drive me crazy. Coming in at number 12 is Line of Duty. This is a direct-to-video action movie. It's got Aaron Eckhart, Giancarlo Esposito is in it. You got Ben McKenzie from the show Gotham. And I normally kind of will go through Vudu to see what new releases have come out. There are these direct-to-video action movies, try to check out 1 or 2 per month, or go to Redbox and rent them. Check this one out. Normally, 3 out of 4 are basically unwatchable. And then you get one like this that I thought was actually a pretty good bit of fun. Is this great cinema? Of course, it's not great cinema. And it's not really trying to be. It's trying to entertain fans of action movies. People like me that grew up watching 80s and 90s action movies, and it's trying to do something entertaining for them. It's very much a genre film, and you got a great cast here. They're having fun with it. They're all committed. Aaron Eckhart, I mean, he looks like he's doing his own stunts. Tonally, the movie's kind of all over the place. At certain points in time, it's very serious about this girl being kidnapped, and then the next scene, it's like over the top, like humor and banter between some of the characters inside of it. And like, okay, I don't know if these two go side by side with each other, but it was a movie that I found it endearing. It's got the tonal inconsistencies, but the actual overall bit kind of worked. Actually, I could contrast this one a little bit with Last Christmas. It's a movie that on paper, I should be a lot more critical of, but for whatever reason, this strange mix worked for me. Kind of like pineapple on pizza. This is a pineapple on pizza kind of movie. I dug it just a little bit. Then at number 11 is 21 Bridges. This is the Chadwick Boseman cop thriller that was produced by the Russos, not directed by the Russos. And actually, it's interesting to contrast these two movies right next to each other on the list. With Line of Duty, that's a movie that had a lot of issues, but it had a distinct flavor to it. It did some interesting stuff. Slickness of the production, there's some rough edges all about the whole thing, but it had a distinct flavor that popped a little bit more. 21 Bridges is a very slick production, very well-produced film, constructed really nicely, but didn't have much of a distinct flavor. So with these two movies, I'm kind of going back and forth between kind of like slick professionalism with kind of garage band lack of production, but has something distinct about it with Line of Duty. And so 21 Bridges, once it's pretty predictable, you kind of know where the whole thing's going, but it delivers the experience that you wanted. If you're in the mood for a cop thriller investigation, it's more about the investigation than the action, you should check this one out at Redbox. It's not going to blow any minds. It's not reinventing the genre. It's a movie that's a lot easier to recommend than Line of Duty, because Line of Duty is that pineapple on a pizza, and a lot of people aren't going to like that at all. Whereas if you like the genre that 21 Bridges is, it delivers a good one. It just doesn't necessarily deliver one that's particularly memorable. Bringing us into our top 10 is Midway, Roland Emmerich's take on World War II. And, I mean, it plays into all the cliches of the genre. It has all of the speeches you're supposed to have. Some of the acting feels pretty weird and wacky. They really go for it with the old-timey accents, and some of the people are like British doing these old-timey Jersey accents and stuff. So it can be a little bit distracting. At the end of the day, I thought it delivered the experience that I wanted from the film. I got the war movie that I wanted it to be. And so, some people think it's just too bland of a war film. For me, I got the big explosion, I got the war, I got the emotions, I got the feels. Once again, like the last few I mentioned, not reinventing the genre, but I thought a solid piece of entertainment. Number 9 is Lady and the Tramp, our second Disney Plus movie on this list. Just a cute little family film that's a remake, of course, of the original Lady and the Tramp. I haven't seen the original film in probably 25 years, so I can't really compare and contrast the two side by side. I'm just watching this one with very vague memories of the old one. And is this a cute dog movie? I've got a daughter that watches talking dog movies all the time. Like talking dog movies, Super Buddy and all that stuff. I'll just come home and she's just watching that stuff. So by comparison, I mean, this is Oscar caliber compared to most of those ones. This is a really well put together, cute, slightly romantic dog movie. and it's, you know, has a little bit of messaging about judging people without being heavy-handed. It doesn't do anything over the top. Just solid family entertainment. At number 8 is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, the Mr. Rogers movie. This was one that, you know, I was very excited to go see it, and it does a lot of things really well. Tom Hanks is just fantastic as Mr. Rogers. He just has that energy, that aura about him that Fred Rogers actually had. And so it seems like perfect casting, even though they don't even look all that much alike. And it absolutely hits on the feels at certain moments inside the film. At the same time, the star of it is the journalist character. And the character's interesting. It's not like he's bad. It's not like it's poorly acted. But when you go to see a Mr. Rogers movie, Mr. Rogers is kind of like the second character. Not kind of. He's the secondary character inside of it. He is not the lead of this film. If he was nominated for Best Actor, I'd be like, he's really more the supporting actor. This guy is the lead. This guy over here is the guy that has the character arc, not Mr. Rogers, who's kind of just comes and goes throughout the film. And so it's just one of those movies I left feeling like, I kind of wanted to really get to know Mr. Rogers a little bit more. And that's even like a plot point inside of the film. And you leave the movie feeling that way too. So it does a lot of things great. It's a very good movie. I didn't think it was necessarily a great movie. And then at number 7 is Frozen 2. This is where you know that this is a very good month for movies. The bottom half of it I thought were mostly pretty mediocre, but some of them kind of interesting mediocre. And then the entire top half of this list are like, you know, we're talking about the Mr. Rogers movie and Frozen 2, all stuff that I had a great time with. I just have to give you a reason why they're low on the list, even though I really did enjoy this movie. So Frozen 2, in fact, I like it more than the original Frozen. I think it does a better job of focusing the story in. Since all the characters are already together, it's easier to put the obstacle out there that we're trying to overcome, and that's the focus. Our team together trying to overcome this obstacle. Whereas the first one, it's like things are happening. Is Elsa the villain? Wait, no, is this the villain? These people are the villain, and we got to meet all these characters. And I think it's just strangely constructed film. Here, it's for the way my brain works, I just enjoyed the journey of this one. Much smoother, much more fluid storytelling. And when I first saw the movie, I wasn't quite sure if the songs were as good. Sometimes you don't really know with these types of songs if they're going to hit as well when you just hear them one time. Now, my kids have been listening to the soundtrack on loop ever since it debuted, I guess a week and a half ago, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. So I've been listening to it on loop, and I mean, they're just as catchy. The kids are singing just along. So I think some of that's just the way that we've been listening to Let It Go for years and years and years. So you don't immediately have the same nostalgia and connection to it as you do for these new songs. But having listened to them now for a week straight, they're much better songs once you listen to them a few times. But in general, just a solid film. I didn't think of like a masterpiece or anything like that. The third act I didn't pay off as well as maybe it should have, but a very solid film. I did rank the Disney revival films. That's the Heir of the last 10 years. If you want to check that out right up here, I think I have a card up. I'll try to remember to put a card up there. How does it compare to the other Frozen, my thoughts on all that? You can see that in that video right up there. At number 6 is going to be Terminator Dark Fate. This is one of these movies that apparently it's like the Last Jedi of 2019. This movie that seems to be highly divisive, and the people that don't like it feel like their childhood was betrayed. And then the other group of people are like, what? I thought this was a great continuation. I thought brought the pieces together really nicely. And it's just interesting how these movies that there's just like this sharp line in the middle of you either accept certain plot points or you don't, and you're just on these two polarized teams. I'm on the team that really dug it. I got into it. I got what they were doing with the John Connor character and the mythology and how they were developed things and where they were taking things. And so I dug it. I kind of understand, like I can kind of get where these people over here, some of the stuff they're saying, this way they're phrasing their frustration with it, I don't get, but mostly I understand where they're coming from. In general, I thought it was a solid addition, did some interesting things with the mythology, some of the action's really cool with the melee combat. In my original review, I think I gave it an A-. That was inflated. I'd go B+. I'd knock it back just a little bit. I was debating with my wife before I shot that review, should I go A+ or B, or A- or B+? And I think I went over. I was never comfortable giving it quite that high, but I'm only knocking it back just a little bit. And I think that's where I'll sit on that one. But, I thought Arnold was great in it. Linda Hamilton was fantastic to see her back. And I bought into the controversial plot thing that they did, and I thought they did interesting things with it, and I think it was justified. I don't think it betrayed the previous films. I I just don't see it the way people like that see it. And once again, that seems to be much like Last Jedi, where two people look at the same plot point. One group says, how could you do this to this character? You've betrayed this, whatever. What do you even think this series is about? And the other side's like, I get it. I think this is a very clever, smart thing to do with it. So, oh well. Let me know what you thought down below in the comments section. Bringing us into our top 5 is Waves. This is actually a movie that I saw back in October. I saw it about 6 weeks ago when I was in LA. Interesting little story. I saw it in a screening room. The only movie I've ever seen in a screening room was like in an office building, and you walked into it as this mini theater, and it had very much the theater experience while being much smaller. Is very interesting little deal the way it played out. So anyway, this movie, I've been calling it the uplifting, inspiring gut punch of the year, as it's a movie that both digs in deep into family pressure, family expectation, tragedy, real trauma, and then at the same time kind of sees the ramifications, how that plays out in a family and how you can move along on the other side to it in a healthy way and learn from it and grow from it. And so it kind of is able to leave with certain even inspiring things. So it touches on all kinds of emotions. Like for me, this might end up being the movie of the year that touched on the most human emotions, because the first part is so tragic and the second part really is kind of heartwarming in some of these scenes inside of it and the relationships and the way things kind of play out and the way it touches on the human experience. Just does a really nice job of doing a lot of different things in this movie. In fact, when I watched it, I hadn't seen a trailer. I didn't know anything about it except it was from the director of It Comes at Night, which is not a helpful perspective for going into this movie. And so then I went to go see it, and we got about halfway through it. I thought the movie was about to be over. I thought the credits were about to roll. And it's literally only halfway through the movie because it just does such a full spectrum of the life experience and human emotions and things like that. And it's too long. I think it is too long of a movie. To that point, I just said, well, that felt like maybe a little bit of a short movie, but it was only half of the movie, in which case, by the time you get to the end of the second movie in this movie, feels pretty long. So I thought it probably could have been tightened up a little bit for the type of movie they're doing. So everything kind of played pretty slow inside of it, but really a movie that does some neat stuff and explores a lot of things. Next up is Dr. Sleep. I really dug this movie. I wasn't sure what to expect going into it because obviously the original Shining is a Kubrick film, and those are such unique experiences in and of themselves, so much so that even legendary Stephen King was like, I don't like what Kubrick did, because Kubrick has such a distinct flavor to everything that he does, that how do you do a sequel to that? And I thought this movie just did a great job of doing its own thing. Let's take this mythology and let's play it out in a very different way. Same characters, some similar themes, but do something totally different with it. It's not trying to out Kubrick. We're not even trying to do Kubrick. We're going to do our own thing over here. And it really worked for me. In fact, I did a ranking of the Shining movies with the miniseries in there, and I was quite positive about this one. It's a movie that just kind of works a little bit more with my wiring than the stuff that Kubrick does. And I think some of that's because Kubrick is this kind of paranoia, people going crazy in a confined space. This one kind of goes big. It almost has kind of like a superhero vibe but via Stephen King flavor to the whole thing, because there's bad guys and there's good guys and they have superpowers, but it all has the darkness and the weirdness of Stephen King. And that has just some real rich, thoroughly explored themes inside of it about legacy, family, alcoholism, that you touches on at the beginning, or really looks at the beginning where this character is at, and you don't even see exactly where it's going until you get later in the second half, and you really see the parallels between the father and the son between the two films. And I thought that all that stuff was really profound. It absolutely worked for me, and I loved the journey that this movie took. Another one that was probably about 15 minutes too long, and I think the first hour, there's so much setup and it's doing so many things and showing us so much stuff that's probably where the 15 minutes could have been tightened up so our story could kick in a little bit sooner. But in general, a movie that I really enjoyed. Real quick before I give you my top 3, remember to share your ranking down below in the comments section. Also, as we kind of go throughout this, I tried to put a whole bunch of cards up there to link to my different reviews so that you can find them out if you want my expanded thoughts, especially one of these next ones up on the list. Nobody knows that I reviewed it because I reviewed it 2 months ago and the movie just came out about a week ago. So be looking out for those cards, and I'll try and maybe put links down below in the description to try and help you find my full thoughts on all these. In third place is The Irishman, Martin Scorsese's return to the gangster mob genre and bring in all these icons of that genre back together to create an epic story inside of this world that 3.5 hours long, released direct to Netflix, which is a pretty tough way to try and watch a movie like this if you've got kids, and that's a big chunk of time to be able to sit down and stay awake. Because after my kids go to sleep, staying up another 3.5 hours watching a big epic movie, that is a challenge right there. So finally watched it, and I mean, it really is a movie that digs deep into these characters, like intricate plotting throughout the entire thing. And as it goes along, it got a lot better for me. Like the first hour was like, okay, where are we going with all of this? And then with each section, I thought it got better and better. I was more invested, cared more about the characters, and you get to the final little segment of my final 45 minutes, hour or so. Actually, it probably was like the final hour and 20 minutes of the movie, so long. But you get to the final little act of the movie, and it's just so rich in everything that happens, and you feel the tragedy of the choices that are made and the places that they find up themselves in life because of all that they've done. It just made for a movie that I thought carried a bunch of weight inside of it. This is another one that I think was probably too long. I don't know that it needed to be 3.5 hours long. If you're going to do it that length on Netflix, do it as 4 episodes that are 50 minutes long. Re-edit them just a little bit to make them more episodes, focused to a specific point. Or I think it needed to be like 2 hours and 45 minutes long. Just trim off 45 minutes, tighten it up all throughout. It's not like cut any big thing like this section. It's like the whole thing I felt like could be tightened up. I'm not sure that we needed that much information about that much different stuff to give it this epic runtime. That was my personal take, but still a very good movie that did a lot of very cool things. Our runner-up is Knives Out. This is the movie people all weekend have been like, hey, are you going to review Knives Out? Hey, are you going to see Knives Out? Hey, have you seen Knives Out? Yeah, I saw Knives Out 2 months ago at Fantastic Fest, and I posted a review. I talked about it in my Fantastic Fest coverage. I posted pictures of myself in the lobby of this movie theater with Ryan Johnson behind me. There's a Q&A that I posted videos from. So yes, I saw Knives Out 2 months ago and posted a bunch of stuff about it. I had to reshare the video on my community tab as well to try and be like, hey guys, I do have a review for this. But with the way YouTube works, it's not always the easiest to discover what past things people have done. So I have seen Knives Out, and I loved it. I loved pretty much everything about it. The cast, of course, is fantastic. They're all funny in their own ways with some quirks and oddities about them. It's not like everybody has the same comedic voice. They're all different. Some of them, it's very subtle. Some of it's very broad. Some of it's their funny voice. Some of it's almost slapstick. I mean, it's a little bit of all of it to make you laugh, but all of it is unique and different. But really the reason that the movie works is because it's a whodunit that you're invested in the journey of it as you kind of follow around the helper person as her navigates through this whole family and everything going on and the different allegiances. And as you learn everything, that's kind of where the movie really works. Because for the first 30 minutes, you think you're watching one thing play out. And then there's this reveal and you go, wait, no, this is what I've actually been watching. And then it shifts your perspective. And then about an hour into the movie, there's this big twist inside of it. You're like, oh, now this is where things are headed. And it turns things again. And 30 minutes after that, then there's a reveal. And we learn more information that reinterprets everything that we just saw. And that's what you want for movies like this, that it's not just like this one twist at the end. It's like a series of things that change your perspective on everything that you've been watching or rearranges the path that we're on throughout it. I just thought that all of it worked. The humor, the characters, the plot. Very big fan of this movie. So please go see this movie. You can check out my review wherever it is right up here. It does exist. I have seen it. It just was a while ago. But in first place for the month of November, it's going to be Ford vs. Ferrari. I was pretty excited to go into this one. Director of Logan, doing a movie about race cars with a fantastic cast. And it absolutely lived up to all the hype. It's a movie that has like these potentially Oscar caliber performances and Oscar drama inside of it, but it's entertaining. This is my kind of Oscar bait right here. It's a movie that's still entertaining and it's trying to put a smile on the audience's face and have those rah-rah moments, and you have the setbacks and then you have the payoff. You've got all of that inside of the movie while it also being a film that potentially could get some Oscar love early next year. That's my kind of Oscar bait insider. But you can just kind of go through the performances, just all of them having something about them that makes the character kind of endearing. The Christian Bale's Kenny character being so aloof and talented, and he's trying to do the right thing, but he just can't play along with these people's rules. Or Matt Damon, the guy that loves to be the rock star. He's good at playing the game, and so they have this odd connection because they both respect each other. They know each other, can help each other. They work well together, but they're working with this company that's trouble. All of that just makes for a story that I was invested. It's a pretty long movie, but I didn't feel the runtime at all. It moved at the pace of the cars inside of the movie. So for me, this is one that touches on all the things that I love inside of cinema while being entertaining, while being great at the same time. So it comes in at number 1. Be sure to tell me what you thought down below in the comment section. If you want more content like this, check out that video right over there or any of those cards that I was dropping all throughout the video. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.